Before sunrise, a middle-aged man switches on the light in his garage. Beside his work badge sits a motorcycle key he chose for himself. He calls it freedom, yet it demands discipline, restraint, and practice. The easy answer is a midlife crisis. It is also the answer most likely to hide what is happening. 40 is not a proven psychological switch. For some men, the desire is older than the purchase. Work, children, money, time, storage, and access may have kept the interest waiting for years. What looks sudden from the outside can be the visible end of a very long delay. Something else changes. When the future stops feeling unlimited, emotionally meaningful experiences become harder to postpone. Riding is no longer something to enjoy someday. The question becomes how many meaningful chances he expects life to keep offering. That does not mean every man after 40 becomes afraid of aging. It means time may begin to feel less theoretical. A free Sunday on a crowded calendar can carry more emotional weight than it once did, especially when most other hours already belong to useful roles. Yet access still does not explain passion. Even when time opens up, not every hobby becomes part of a man's identity. The deeper question is why a motorcycle can turn available leisure into something that feels urgent, personal, and difficult to replace. Part of the answer is that riding does not let you remain passive. Your hands, eyes, balance, judgment, and attention stay involved. The machine responds to what you do, and the road answers quickly when your decisions are careless or precise. That feedback matters. A television can distract you. A purchase can flatter you. Riding asks you to participate. The pleasure may come partly from continuous, skillful interaction with the machine, not from simply owning an impressive object in the garage. This is where the word freedom becomes more interesting. On a motorcycle, freedom is not the absence of demands. It is the chance to choose the demands. You accept the practice, the maintenance, the concentration, and the restraint because the responsibility feels self-authored. That is a very different experience from obligations assigned by work, family, or status. The road does not care about your job title, but it responds immediately to your judgment. Competence becomes visible without a performance review, a promotion, or anyone else granting permission. For a man whose days are built around being dependable, that direct feedback can feel unusually clean. He acts, the machine responds, and improvement can be felt. Freedom stops being an abstract slogan and becomes a practiced experience of agency. Motorcycling can also solve an apparent contradiction. Riding may provide personal space without demanding complete isolation. You can travel alone, hear only the machine and your own attention, then meet other riders at the same destination. Separate bikes can create shared identity. The motorcycle becomes private territory and a social passport at the same time. A rider can choose distance without losing belonging, which helps explain why solo rides and group rides can both feel satisfying. That combination is powerful after a stage of life filled with roles you did not fully design. You may be a provider, manager, husband, father, son, or dependable friend. Those identities can matter deeply, yet still leave little room for an identity chosen because it feels personally meaningful. The motorcycle can offer a skill, a private identity, and a community. None of that proves emotional trouble. Serious hobbies naturally become meaningful. Still, the machine can begin carrying more psychological weight than its engine, price, or appearance would suggest. The usual stereotype says that weight comes from adrenaline. Some riders certainly enjoy risk, and risk cannot be removed from motorcycling. But the idea that passion is merely sensation seeking is too simple to explain why many riders care so much about technique, control, and improvement. The research cited here does not support treating every rider as one reckless personality type. In one limited racing sample, deep absorption was tied more consistently to intrinsic motivation than to sensation seeking. That does not describe every road rider, but it weakens the lazy explanation that danger is the whole reward. Deep absorption is often called flow, It is the state in which a demanding activity holds so much attention that ordinary mental noise recedes. Riding can create conditions that support that feeling because mistakes matter. Feedback is immediate, and skill can keep developing. This creates the central contradiction. The man says he wants escape, yet he becomes devoted to tire pressure, training, maintenance, attention, and restraint. He calls the bike freedom, then chooses a machine that punishes carelessness and rewards discipline. He might not be escaping control at all. Instead, perhaps he is choosing a form of control that answers back immediately. The motorcycle gives him responsibility without bureaucracy, challenge without a committee, and progress that can be felt through his own decisions. That is why mastery can become emotionally important. Improvement is not merely technical. It can become proof that growth is still available. The rider is not only learning what the motorcycle can do, he is collecting evidence about what he can still become. Now the darker possibility appears, and it needs careful language. One purchase does not prove fear, insecurity, trauma, or crisis. A man can simply enjoy motorcycles. Yet for some men, demanding movement may help aging feel like adaptation rather than disappearance. The bike may protect a sense of agency when other parts of life feel repetitive or externally defined. It may offer competence when professional identity feels fixed. It may create distinctiveness when he feels useful to everyone, yet personally recognizable in fewer parts of his life. The main answer is not that he is trying to become young again. For some men, motorcycle passion after 40 is a way of building a chosen adult identity that still feels capable, present, developing, and unfinished. That changes the meaning of the purchase. The motorcycle is no longer only a symbol of freedom. It becomes a place where freedom is produced through attention, skill, voluntary responsibility, private space, and optional belonging. Even then, the interpretation must remain fair. You cannot read one motive from one machine. A deeper identity function becomes plausible only when several related patterns appear together. And even those patterns invite reflection rather than diagnosis. The first marker is exclusivity. Riding becomes the only activity the man regularly describes as completely his. The problem is not that he values it. What matters is whether every other part of his identity has started feeling borrowed, assigned, or purely useful. The second marker is emotional overinvestment in mastery. Technique, equipment, and improvement begin carrying more weight than ordinary enthusiasm would seem to require. A bad ride can feel like a verdict, while a good one may briefly feel like proof that he remains competent. The third marker is defensiveness. When someone dismisses the passion as childish, the reaction feels larger than a disagreement about taste. That may happen because the motorcycle is protecting status, agency, or identity, so criticism of the hobby can feel like rejection of the person. None of those markers proves pathology. They simply sharpen the question: is riding adding another dimension to life? Or is it carrying the entire burden of making the rider feel capable, independent, and alive? There is also a cost that no psychological explanation can erase. In 2024, 6,228 motorcyclists were killed in United States traffic crashes. In 2023, the fatality rate per mile was nearly 28 times that of passenger car occupants. Those numbers do not prove that every rider is reckless, and they do not make the passion meaningless. They prove something colder. Meaning does not cancel physics, and confidence does not negotiate with traffic, speed, visibility, or the consequences of a mistake. Mature passion therefore looks different from denial. Preparation, restraint, training, and humility do not mean the rider has lost his nerve. They show that he respects the activity enough to understand what it can take from him. The final test is not whether motorcycling is good or bad. The better question is what it produces. Does it add competence, connection, attention, and meaning to a functioning life? Or does it become the only place where any of those experiences remain available? A healthy passion can widen identity. It can make a person more curious, disciplined, connected, and present. A narrowing passion begins demanding that one machine carry every unmet need, every threatened status, and every fear that life has stopped changing. So return to the quiet garage. The work badge still sits beside the key, and the house still contains responsibilities that matter. What has changed is the meaning of the choice being made before the garage door rises. There was no magical switch at 40, and there is no single male motive. An old desire may finally become possible, meaningful time may rise in value, and the motorcycle may become the clearest place where autonomy, mastery, identity, and belonging meet. He may not be trying to become young again, only refusing to stop becoming.